Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. It's me, Vicky, again. Okay, in today's video, we're going to go back to the GCSE test that we've been doing because I know lots of you are quite keen to check your level. So I'm doing these videos. It may take a little bit of time because this is a genuine test that we're doing. It's not just things I've made up. I've adapted them slightly, but you know, it is basically a test. Things you'd be expected to know if you did a GCSE in Spanish. So in this one, which is the third one of the videos, and at the end I'm going to put them all on a playlist. So it'll be there as a, you know, if you wanted to go back to it a month later, they'll all be there, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And you'll be able to go through them one by one all together. So you may want to just store them up to that, or you may want to do them as you go along. That's up to you. If you're interested in doing a GCSE, you know, I can point you in the right direction for that to do if you're in Spain, you can do an international GCSE in Spanish in Alicante. I can prepare you for it. But I can't do the actual exam here, but I've prepared several students for this exam and they've all passed. Not only passed, but passed with very, very good grades. Okay, like A++, etc. So anyway, so in this video we're doing numbers and time. So you might think, oh, números fácil, you know, maybe numbers are easy, maybe you know all the numbers, maybe you know how to tell the time. But you'll see as we go through the examples, what I've realised is, and I realised this a long time ago, not just doing this video, to pass a GCSE, you just have to be aware of what they're looking for. So you might know a million things about numbers, but if you don't know the things that they're looking for, then you may fail, you may struggle. I know, you know, we have to find out what are they looking for. They're normally looking for the oddities of not only the numbers, but anything. So they're normally looking for the little exceptions. They want you to know those. Okay, and that work, I think, has already come out in a couple of videos that we've done, and it'll come out in this one. I'm going to do it slightly different this time. These are the numbers, or there's a couple of sentences down at the end. You need a pen and a piece of paper. You need to pause the video, get yourself a pen and a book or a piece of paper to write on, because these are the numbers that you're expected, and the sentences, if you like, that you're expected to know. Now, yeah, so pause the video, write them down or take a photo of them so that you've got them, and then of course do them, write out the answers. You need to write them out in full, the numbers in full, and then in a moment I'll be going through the answers. So we've got 16, 23, 34, 101, 506, 702, 950, 200 books, 190, 100,000, 1,000 pounds, £1,000,000. I was born in 1946. It's not true. I was not that old, not yet. The 4 people stayed on the 4th floor. Now, I have noticed in a couple of things that have come up, they definitely want you to know these ordinal numbers, 4th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. There is, as I've said in other videos, all these things that this test involves, I think you'll find that I've done a video on most of them. So if you search through my channel, where the little search magnifying glass, you put ordinal numbers or just numbers, all the tutorials that deal with those will come up, and that should help you, because if you're struggling, because you may think you know the numbers, but it's funny, sometimes like the bigger numbers like 506, you know, these are the things, especially the 5s, I think are difficult. 500 is difficult. Also, bear in mind that when you come to do a GCSE, they won't only expect you to say them correctly. If you have to write them down, quite often they have little accents. You have to remember your accents for your GCSE. I don't think it would make you fail the GCSE, but it might make the difference between getting an A star or just an A. And we want an A star star, don't we? Or A plus plus. You know, you want the best grade that you can get, obviously. I think, I mean, it'd be lovely to get a B. It'd be lovely to just pass it, but it's nice. It'd be a shame to just miss out on that extra little grade just because you'd forgotten an accent. So, I hope you've done them now because I'm going to hold up the answers now. Okay, so let's look at the answers. Number 116 is 16. See the accent on the second E. Número 2, 23, 23. There's an accent on the tres, on the E. Absolutely no idea why, to be honest, but there you go. It's there, so it's just something to remember. Número 3, 34. Now remember, if you read it out slowly, it's 34. But if you were saying it normally, it should really come out 34. Again, I explained that in my tutorial on numbers. 101, 101. So anything that's 100 and something is ciento. Número 5, this is the one that my students mainly forget, the 500. All the fives are difficult, like the 15, 15, and then 500, 500. And if it's 506, it's 506. No and, okay? 702, 702. No and. 950, again, don't use and when we're in the hundreds in Spanish. 950. Okay, if we're saying 200 books, we would say 200 libros. Okay, if we're saying 190, we will say 190. If we're saying 100,000, we will say 100,000. If we're saying 1,000 books, 1,000 pounds, this is 1,000 libras. So remember the difference between books, which is libros, and libras, which is pounds. So 1,000 libras. Número 12, 1,000,000 de libras, 1,000,000 pounds. And then in número 13, so notice that with million, we do say 1,000,000, whereas with the others like 1,000, 100, we don't say un or una or anything, only with the million. Número 13, I was born in 1946, which in Spanish they say, I was born in 1946. Nació, again, remember the accent on the end of the preterites, en 1946. Okay, so saying it's not 1946, you're not saying that, you're saying 1946. And the last one, the 4 persons stayed on the 4th floor. So, las 4 personas, and it's las, because personas are feminine, las 4 personas se quedaron, they stayed, quedarse is to stay, en el cuarto piso, so on the 4th floor. Now you could say en la cuarta planta. That's another word for floor. So you can, but that's feminine. So it'd be la cuarta planta or el cuarto piso. ¿Vale? How did you do? How did you get on with those? Right, let's look at the time now. Now, hopefully you know how to tell the time. Generally, you'll find again with these, It's more not about just telling the time, it's about the little quirky bits about telling the time and how to say, like in the morning, in the evening, etc., which we'll see. If you don't know how to tell the time in Spanish, before you do this, you should look at my tutorial on telling the time in Spanish. Okay, so here are the English sentences that you need to translate. Number one, so you need to write these down. Number one, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Number two, it's 11 at night. Remember, the o'clock is optional, so I've said 4 o'clock in the morning, but I could have just said it's 4 in the morning. It's 6:15 in the evening. It's 10 to 7 in the morning. The train leaves at 1 o'clock. And the class is at 3:45 in the afternoon. So that's your sentences. You need to write them down or just pause the video and look at them on there. And you need to have a go at translating those. Hello, you're back in the room because now I'm going to read you the answers. Okay, so number one. Son las 4 de la madrugada. Now, madrugada, I don't know if you know that or not, but is the early hours of the morning. I mean, you could also say son las 4 de la mañana. But if you were in a GCSE and you used a madrugada, I think you'd get an extra little point there. I think that. See, this is there's often different ways you can say things, but if you use something a little bit different, I'm sure when those papers are marked, these are things that go towards the better mark. So, número dos. Son las 11 de la noche. Now, you could say son las 11 en punto de la noche también. Either is fine. So, número tres. Son las 6:15. So, it's 6:15. Or you can use 15, son las 6:15 de la tarde, in the evening or in the afternoon. Tarde can mean evening or afternoon. Again, I do believe there's a tutorial on my channel for the parts of the day in Spanish. Número 4, son las 6:50. Yeah, or you can say son las 7 menos 10. Either por la mañana or de la mañana. That would not be madrugada because madrugada really, I would use madrugada. 6 would be the latest, the very latest that you would use madrugada. After 6, it's more or less just normal morning. But before 6, it's the early hours of the morning, or the wee hours of the morning, as we would say. Okay, número 5. El tren sale a la 1. So remember, anything that's to do with 1 o'clock is la, not las, singular. Y número 6. La clase es a las 4 menos 4. Again, you could say menos 15. Or you could even go back to the 3 and say a las 3:45, at 3:45. There's all your choices. They've got quite a lot of choices. Okay, how did you do? So let me do the cuatro cosas. It's a combination of 4 things. So there were 4 small things, if you like, or small exercises. So I'll put the 4 together and we'll do it all in one video. Okay, and these things are all explained in my books or on another video, you know. So if these are things that you're not too sure about, that if it transpires as you do this test or these tests, that you're not too sure about these things, you can look them up in the books, or I will put the link to the video, the appropriate video that's already on my channel, in the description box, so that you can refresh yourself on these things. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the personal A. Now, obviously, in the GCSE, they must expect you to have knowledge of this. Do you know what the personal A is in Spanish? Well, basically, this is explained in my level 1 book on page 53 of Break the Language Barrier level 1, available on all Amazon sites, or you can order it through me, order it through the website, whichever you prefer. And it's, if you order it through me, it is free postage. It will be posted free, so it's €15 if you order it through me, or through the website, or through the Facebook page, or just send me a message and we can sort it out. It's €15. On Amazon, the price tends to vary because Amazon's a bit, it depends which Amazon site you're using, because it might be in dollars, it might be in euros, it might be in pounds. But the price is set at €15, but how it comes up in your district, I don't have any control over. But anyway, it's available on all Amazon sites, and the personal A is explained in one of the top tips on page 53. Okay, so basically, it's very simple, really. Any verb that you use, any doing word, any action word that you use that applies to a person, in Spanish you put in an a, and it's called a personal a. It's because this action is being done to a person. We don't use it if the same action is being done to an object or a thing. So let's look at some examples. So if I say I am waiting for the bus, a bus is a thing, not a person, so I don't need the personal A. I would just say espero el autobús. But if I am saying I am waiting for Maria, Maria is a person, so I will say espero a Maria. So it's got no extra meaning. We've got no equivalent in English. It's just an idiosyncrasy, if you like, of Spanish, that obviously in the GCSE, because this test, if you're coming into these videos for the first time, this test is a genuine test for a GCSE, to prepare for a GCSE. So they obviously expect you to know and use properly the personal A if you want to pass a GCSE with a really good mark. So what I'm going to do, those of you who've seen these videos before, you'll know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold up the English. First of all, you need a pen and a pad. If you haven't got a pen and a pad, you need to stop the video and get one, or just stop the video and do it off that. But I think you need to write down in Spanish these sentences. So in English, the sentences you will be translating are: I saw my mother, I saw the match, I have a friend, I am looking for a doctor, I saw the dog in the kitchen. Now, I think you can gather from this that you need to know how to say I saw to do your GCSE in Spanish. Obviously, pretery of the verb ver, to see, obviously is one of those that they expect you to know quite well because it comes up quite often. Okay, so pause the video, write those down, and when I'm now going to turn over to the Spanish. So let's see how you did. So, I saw my mother. Vi a mi madre. So, I saw my mother. My mother is a person, so I need to put in the personal A. Now, you could there as well say yo vi a mi madre. Whereas number 2, vi el partido. Partido is a match. Is not a person, so we don't need the personal A at all. Vi el partido. Now, número 3, tengo un amigo. Now, although amigo is a person, so you might have been a bit tricked there and put in the personal A, but I have a friend. You're not performing an action on, like if you were saying I told my friend, or I saw my friend, or I visited my friend. All those you would need the a. But tengo un amigo is not a verb of action against someone. You just, I have a friend. So you don't need it there. Número 4, I'm looking for a doctor. Busco, I am looking for, or you could say estoy buscando. So there's 2 ways you could say that. Busco or estoy buscando a un médico, because of course doctor is a person. So you will put in the a. You will not put in for. Busco is to look for. I am looking for. The for is in there, so you wouldn't say busco para un médico or busco por. No, just busco a un médico. And then back to the I saw again, as I say, very popular. Vi el perro en la cocina. I saw the dog in the kitchen. So a dog is not a person. However, if you're talking about, if you were saying, talking about, see, this is just the dog, so it could be any dog, really. Well, not any dog, but we're not naming it. If you were saying, like my dog, one of my dogs is called Rocky, so if I was saying I saw Rocky in the kitchen, I would use a personal A because I have a personal relationship with that dog. So it's vi a Rocky en la cocina. So that's different when it's a, I'm going to put it like a dog that's named a pet dog specifically, not just, you know, anybody's dog. Okay, comprendes? How did you do? Did you get them all right? Okay, so what we're going to look at now, the second part of this part 5, are demonstrative adjectives and pronouns. Don't let that frighten you. What is a this is what I call this, that, and the other, because it's demonstrative adjectives and pronouns are how you talk about this house, that car, that man over there, etc. So that's basically what they are. That's an adjective. A demonstrative adjective is when you're like saying this house, that car, etc. When you use it, you're describing the noun. A pronoun, of course, replaces a noun. So that's when you say this one. So like if I was to say, this car is nice, but that one is nicer, then I'm using a pronoun. That one is a pronoun. Again, this is, I'll put the link to the video that this is all explained in on my channel, and it is also explained in my level 3 book, Break the Language Barrier level 3, on page 30. Página 30. All those are explained, demonstrative adjectives and pronouns, with exercises to practice and the answers in the back. So if you don't already have it, again, you can buy it on any Amazon site or through me, whichever you prefer. Okay, so these are the English. So again, you need to stop the video, write down the English that you have to translate. I'll read them out as well as hold it up. Number 1, I saw this book in this room. Number 2, I saw that book in that room. Number 3, I saw these books in these rooms. Number 4, I saw those books in those rooms. Okay, so there's your English. Stop the video, do your answers, and then here I am now. It's like Blue Peter, isn't it, or whatever it was. Here's one I prepared earlier. Okay, so numero 1. It's back to the I saw again. I definitely want you to know this. So if nothing else that you learn when you go for your GCSE, make sure that you know how to say I saw. Vi este libro en esta habitación. So este is masculine because libro is masculine, but room is feminine, habitación. Remember that any word that ends in cion is feminine in Spanish. So, vi este libro en esta habitación. Número 2. Vi ese o aquel. So what's the difference between ese and aquel? They both mean that. Ese, so this, that, and the other, as I call them. This is always used to talk about something close to hand, isn't it? That is a little bit further away. So this book, that book. And then in English, we don't have another word. But in Spanish, they have aquel, which is even further distant away. So I always call it that one over there, that book over there. So you've got este libro, this book, ese libro, that book, aquel libro, that book over there, más o menos. So for the purpose of these exercises, where it says that, you could use either. So vi ese o aquel libro en esa o aquella, the feminine, habitación. Número 3. Vi estos libros en estas habitaciones, plurals. Y número 4. Vi esos o aquellos libros en esas o aquellas habitaciones. Okay, how did you do? How are you doing? Okay, now what we're going on to now are possessive adjectives. Again, these are all long words, aren't they? Sometimes people will hear sort of words and I think, oh my God, possessive adjective, it's too scary. But really, basically, all a possessive adjective is describes who something belongs to. So, my house, your car, his chair, their money, etc. That's what possessive adjectives are. And this is explained fully again, I think, yeah, my level 3 book on page 35 of Break the Language Barrier level 3. That's where you'll find all the possessive adjectives explained, and I will put the video down in the description as well if you want to watch that specific video. These are the, well, not really sentences, I suppose they are sentences, but these are what the GCSE test expects you to know, or it says that you should know to be able to do your GCSE successfully. So we've got my chair, my chairs, your sister, your sisters, his dog, her dog, his dogs, her dogs. Our house, our friends, your book, your books, their friend, their friends. Okay, so they're the things you've got to translate. So let's see how you do. I'm going to go on to the Spanish now. Okay, so my chair, mi silla. Whereas my chairs is mis sillas. So notice that when they go plural, it doesn't depend on how many people it belongs to. It's still me, just one person. But it's how many objects there are. Mis, it's plural, it's mis because it's sillas. Okay, and tu hermana, your sister. But tus hermanas, if you're saying your sisters. So yeah, tu becomes tus, and even though you're still only one person, it's because now there's more than one sister. Su perro and su perro, so his and her are exactly the same. So tricky because there is no difference between his or her in Spanish. So we would only know from the conversation, you know, or we might have to clarify. Like if you were talking to someone, they just said, oh, es su perro, and you weren't clear who they were talking about, you might have to clarify that. And then, so they're the same with dogs, plural, sus perros and sus perros, his dogs and her dogs. Número 9, nuestra casa, Our is nuestro or nuestra, masculine, feminine, and it not depending on if we're masculine or feminine, but because casa is feminine, yeah, and then plural, nuestras casas, because casas is houses. So it's not because there's two of us, it's because there's more than one house. So your book, tu libro, your books, tus libros. And I just want to point out there that if it was the plural you, it would be vuestro libro, and your books, as in belonging to all of you, more than one of you, vuestros libros. Again, that's explained on my video or in the book if you're not sure about that. And vuestro has to go feminine, like nuestro goes to nuestra. Okay, then we've got su amigo and sus amigos. So, as if Sue wasn't, this somewhat one of my students said to me once, that Sue she gets everywhere, and it's true because Sue can be his, can be her, and can also be their, belonging to them. So we've got three things that we might mean when we say su amigo could be his friend, her friend, or their friend. So we've got to be aware of this. That's one of those times we might need clarification. And sus amigos, their friends. How did you do? I mean, with all these, I would have a go at doing it without looking first. Then, before you check the answers, check it, or or not. I mean, just go for it. I mean, it's always don't be frightened of getting things wrong. That's how you learn how to get things right. So, yeah, personally, my own personal opinion or advice would be do these, just try and do them as best you can. Then if you've got them wrong, you've got them wrong, but then do them again in a couple of weeks and then see if you remember them. That's the thing, you will get them wrong. That's how you learn how to get them right. Okay, now possessive pronouns again are on the same in level 3 break the language barrier on page 35. What's the difference between a possessive adjective and a possessive pronoun? Well, adjectives describe things. Pronouns replace things or nouns. So, yeah, that's perhaps a better way. An adjective describes a noun and a pronoun replaces a noun. So when we were doing the adjective, it was like when it was, it's my book. I'm describing that book, it's my book. A pronoun is when you go on to say, it's mine. So you're not mentioning the book in there. It's replacing the noun. So that's my book, it's mine. My book is the possessive adjective, mine is the pronoun. Okay, or it's your book, it's yours. Or it's his book, it's his, which actually doesn't change in English. So, again, as I say, page 35, break the language barrier level 3. So I'll explain there the new, the updated version of level 3. I don't think it's in the old version of level 3. I don't think so. Okay, so here's your English sentences to write down or translate, pause the video and translate them from the photo. Number 1, your friend and mine. Number 2, my friend and yours. Number 3, your friend and ours. And number 4, my friend and theirs. Okay, so those are the sentences. And now I'm going to read the Spanish. So, number 1, tu amigo y el mío. Now the L is optional. So you can say tu amigo y el mío or tu amigo y mío. Mi amigo y el tuyo or just tuyo. That's my friend and yours. Mi amigo y tuyo or mi amigo y el tuyo. Then your friend and ours. tu amigo y nuestro, or tu amigo y el nuestro. And then mi amigo y el suyo is my friend and, well, it could be my friend and his, my friend and hers, or my friend and theirs. But anyway, so again, the L is optional. I've forgotten to put the brackets on there, but the L is optional. So mi amigo y suyo, or mi amigo y el suyo. Okay, so yeah, as I say, keep doing those until you know them all off by heart. Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. It's me, Vicky, again. Okay, in today's video, we're going to go back to the GCSE test that we've been doing, because I know lots of you are quite keen to check your level. So I'm doing these videos. It may take a little bit of time because this is a genuine test that we're doing. It's not just things I've made up. I've adapted them slightly, but you know, it is basically a test. Things you'd be expected to know if you did a GCSE in Spanish. So in this one, which is the third one of the videos, and at the end I'm going to put them all on a playlist. So it'll be there as a, you know, if you wanted to go back to it a month later, they'll all be there, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And you'll be able to go through them one by one all together. So you may want to just store them up to that, or you may want to do them as you go along. That's up to you. If you're interested in doing a GCSE, you know, I can point you in the right direction for that. To do if you're in Spain, you can do an international GCSE in Spanish in Alicante. I can prepare you for it, but I can't do the actual exam here. But I've prepared several students for this exam, and they've all passed. Not only passed, but passed with very, very good grades. Okay, like A++, etc. So anyway, so in this video we're doing numbers and time. So you might think, oh, números fácil, you know, maybe numbers are easy, maybe you know all the numbers, maybe you know how to tell the time. But you'll see as we go through the examples, what I've realised is, and I realised this a long time ago, not just doing this video, to pass a GCSE, you just have to be aware of what they're looking for. So you might know a million things about numbers, but if you don't know the things that they're looking for, then you may fail, you may struggle. I know, you know, we have to find out what are they looking for. They're normally looking for the oddities of not only the numbers, but anything. So they're normally looking for the little exceptions. They want you to know those. Okay, and that work I think has already come out in a couple of videos that we've done, and it'll come out in this one. I'm going to do it slightly different this time. These are the numbers, or there's a couple of sentences down at the end. You need a pen and a piece of paper. You need to pause the video, get yourself a pen and a book or a piece of paper to write on, because these are the numbers that you're expected, and the sentences, if you like, that you're expected to know. Now, yeah, so pause the video, write them down or take a photo of them so that you've got them, and then of course do them, write out the answers. You need to write them out in full, the numbers in full, and then in a moment I'll be going through the answers. So we've got 16, 23, 34, 101, 506, 702, 950, 200 books, 190, 100,000, 1,000 pounds, £1,000,000. I was born in 1946. It's not true. I was not that old, not yet. The 4 people stayed on the 4th floor. Now, I have noticed in a couple of things that have come up, they definitely want you to know these ordinal numbers: 4th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. There is, as I've said in other videos, all these things that we're this test involves, I think you'll find that I've done a video on most of them. So if you search through my channel, where the little search magnifying glass, you put ordinal numbers or just numbers, all the tutorials that deal with those will come up, and that should help you, because if you're struggling, because you may think you know the numbers, but it's funny, sometimes like the bigger numbers like 506, you know, these are the things, especially the fives, I think are difficult. 500 is difficult. Also, bear in mind that when you come to do a GCSE, they won't only expect you to say them correctly. If you have to write them down, quite often they have little accents. You have to remember your accents for your GCSE. I don't think it would make you fail the GCSE, but it might make the difference between getting an A star or just an A. And we want an A star star, don't we? Or A plus plus. You know, you want the best grade that you can get, obviously. I think, I mean, it'd be lovely to get a B. It'd be lovely to just pass it, but it's nice. It'd be a shame to just miss out on that extra little grade just because you'd forgotten an accent. So I hope you've done them now, because I'm going to hold up the answers now. Okay, so let's look at the answers. Number 116 is 16. See the accent on the second E. Número 2, 23, 23. There's an accent on the tres, on the E. Absolutely no idea why, to be honest, but there you go. It's there, so it's just something to remember. Número 3, 34. Now remember, if you read it out slowly, it's 34. But if you were saying it normally, it should really come out 34. Again, I explained that in my tutorial on numbers. 101, 101. So anything that's 100 and something is ciento. Número 5, this is the one that my students mainly forget, the 500. All the fives are difficult, like the 15, 15, and then 500, 500. And if it's 506, it's 506. No and, okay? 702, 702. No and. 950, again, don't use and when we're in the hundreds in Spanish. 950. Okay, if we're saying 200 books, we would say 200 libros. Okay, if we're saying 190, we will say 190. If we're saying 100,000, we will say 100,000. If we're saying 1,000 books, 1,000 pounds, this is 1,000 libras. So remember the difference between books, which is libros, and libras, which is pounds. So 1,000 libras. Número 12, 1,000,000 de libras, 1,000,000 pounds. And then in número 13, so notice that with million, we do say 1,000,000. Whereas with the others, like 1,000, 100, we don't say un or una or anything, only with the million. Número 13. I was born in 1946, which in Spanish they say, I was born in 1946. Nació, again, remember the accent on the end of the preterites, en 1946. Okay, so saying it's not 1946, you're not saying that, you're saying 1946. And the last one, the 4 persons stayed on the 4th floor. So, las 4 personas, and it's las, because personas are feminine, las 4 personas se quedaron, they stayed, quedarse is to stay, en el cuarto piso, so on the fourth floor. Now you could say cuarta en la cuarta planta. That's another word for floor. So you can, but that's feminine, so it'd be la cuarta planta or el cuarto piso. Vale? How did you do? How did you get on with those? Right, let's look at the time now. Now, hopefully you know how to tell the time. Generally, you'll find again with these, it's more not about just telling the time, it's about the little quirky bits about telling the time and how to say, like in the morning, in the evening, etc., which we'll see. If you don't know how to tell the time in Spanish, before you do this, you should look at my tutorial on telling the time in Spanish. Okay, so here are the English sentences that you need to translate. Number one, so you need to write these down. Number one, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Number two, it's 11 at night. Remember, the o'clock is optional, so I've said 4 o'clock in the morning, but I could have just said it's 4 in the morning. It's 6:15 in the evening. It's 10 to 7 in the morning. The train leaves at 1 o'clock and the class is at 3:45 in the afternoon. So that's your sentences. You need to write them down or just pause the video and look at them on there. And you need to have a go at translating those. Hello, you're back in the room because now I'm going to read you the answers. Okay, so number one. Son las 4 de la madrugada. Now, madrugada, I don't know if you know that or not, but is the early hours of the morning. I mean, you could also say son las 4 de la mañana. But if you were in a GCSE and you used a madrugada, I think you'd get an extra little point there. I think that. See, this is about, there's often different ways you can say things, but if you use something a little bit different, I'm sure when those papers are marked, these are things that go towards the better mark. So, número dos. Son las 11 de la noche. Now, you could say son las 11 en punto de la noche. También, either is fine. So, número tres. Son las 6:15. So, it's 6:15. Or you can use 15, son las 6:15 de la tarde, in the evening or in the afternoon. Tarde can mean evening or afternoon. Again, I do believe there's a tutorial on my channel for the parts of the day in Spanish. Número 4, son las 6:50. Yeah, or you can say son las 7 menos 10. Either por la mañana or de la mañana. That would not be madrugada because madrugada really, I would use madrugada. 6 would be the latest, the very latest that you would use madrugada. After 6, it's more or less just normal morning. But before 6, it's the early hours of the morning or the wee hours of the morning, as we would say. Okay, número 5. El tren sale a la 1. So remember, anything that's to do with 1 o'clock is la, not las, singular. Y número 6. La clase es a las 4 menos 4. Again, you could say menos 15. Or you could even go back to the 3 and say a las 3:45, at 3:45. There's all your choices. They've got quite a lot of choices. Okay, how did you do? So let me know how you did. I'd be interested to know because, especially if you've been a student of mine, because I do believe any of my students, certainly if they've gone up to level 3, would pass a GCSE with a little bit of tuition pointed in the right direction easily with a fantastic mark. Of course, for those of you that have learnt Spanish elsewhere and are watching my tutorials, thank you. That's more difficult to say because I don't know about the basics you've had. But of course you can also, if you haven't got time for classes or you can't come for classes or you don't want to do Zoom classes, you can buy my books on Amazon and go through the books at home in your own time. Okay, so the next video, as it says here, will be negatives and pronouns. Gracias por mirar. Hola, soy yo Vicky otra vez. I'm here again. And today's video, en el video de hoy, es número 9, number 9, en el serie de videos para practicar para un examen or to see whether your GCSE, how your level compares to GCSE level. What we're going to look at today in video 9 is the present tense. So we've nearly come to the end of this series. Thank you to those of you who have watched everyone. They'll all be in a playlist at the end. I know some of you haven't had time to watch all of them. When I've finished the videos, they'll all be in a playlist, so at any time you just want to check back in, check your level, etc., they'll just be there in a handy playlist, and every now and again I'll probably share it so that people can check. In the last video we did prepositions. How did you do? Let me know how you're doing. You know, do you know more than you thought you did? Is your level better than you thought it was? Is it worse? I mean, you know, I don't know. I also, there is a video that I did, which a lot of people have watched, and thank you if you've watched it, about how to get the best out of my channel, how the playlists work, where the videos are, how they link up with the books, etc. If you've got any queries about your level, you know, maybe you can't come to classes because you're not in this area, or maybe you don't want to do Zoom, or maybe you haven't got the time, or maybe it's the, you know, it costs money, obviously. So anything you want to know how you can get the best out of any of my resources, whether they're the books or the free, or the YouTube channel is completely free, you tell me what you're looking for and I will guide you in the right direction. Okay, so today we're going to look at the present tense. Oh, you're probably thinking, this is nice and easy. Well, do you know, it's funny because when I was preparing this video, I thought, you know, they're obviously for your GCSE, they expect you to know a lot of the irregular verbs, not just the regular verbs in the present tense. And it's funny how you can forget, you know, it depends how often you're using Spanish. If you're not in a situation where you're using Spanish every day, the present tense, even though you think you know it, and then you suddenly think, oh yeah, I've forgotten about that verb, that is irregular, you know, because you might never have used it for months. So it's always good, even if you're not thinking of doing a GCSE, and even if you're not really even thinking about testing your level, it's just good for practice. These are brilliant for practice, even for me. I mean, I do know them obviously, but just bringing things back to mind. Okay, so it's quite long, this video, so you need paper and a pen, because you need to write down either the actual questions that you've got to translate, so it's the sentences you've got to translate, or you'll definitely need to write down the answers. So yeah, you need paper, piece of pen, a paper and a piece of pen. A piece of paper and a pen, or a pad and a pen, and if you haven't got them, you can pause the video and go and get them, because I'm about to start now on the first section. I've divided it into a couple of sections because it's quite long, so just to warn you, it's probably going to end up being, I mean, not hours long, but you know, longer than 10 minutes anyway. Okay, so the first section, these are the sentences for you to translate. I will hold them up and read them at the same time. So you can take a photo of it or pause it and just do it to write them down. So number 1, I eat fish. Number 2, I watch the film while he looks for his book. Number 3, they live in the city and I live in the country. Number 4, I close the door. Number 5, he wakes me at 6. So that's a tricky one. He wakes me at 6. So yeah, there's some tricky ones in here. Number 6, they begin to study at 7. Number 7, we think that it is silly. And number 8, they sit down to eat. There's reflexive verbs in there as well. So yeah, definitely they expect you to know reflexive verbs, irregular verbs, etc. So there's your English. Pause the video. Try and cover my face so you don't have to pause. So you can write down the sentences. And now I'm going to show you the Spanish. Okay, now, you know, sometimes we don't always need to use the person, so remember that. In the first one, I've put the person in brackets, but I'm not going to do that in every one. Yo como pescado, but it could be just como pescado. Now, remember that pescado is fish that you eat. So if you've got pez is a fish that's alive and happy and swimming in the stream or in the river or in the sea. Pescado is the fish that you eat in a restaurant. Okay, so yo como pescado, that's a nice regular verb, comer. Number 2, we can either use, for I watch, you can either use miro or veo. La película, I watch the film, mientras él busca su libro, while he looks for. So remember, buscar is the verb to look for, not mirar, which is to look at. Vale, número 3. Viven en la ciudad, pero yo vivo en el campo. So they live, viven, that's your ending for they, pero vivo or yo vivo en el campo. Now, número 4, cerrar, to close, is a diphthong. Do you remember diphthongs? If you've done my course, you will have done quite a big section in diphthongs in level 1 of the Break the Language Barrier. Now, I haven't got one here handy. I'm going to put all these links in the description if you don't know about diphthongs, and you will find them in level 1 of Break the Language Barrier, level 1 of my books. If you don't have the book, you can order it on any Amazon website or here through me, through sending an email or the website. It'll be delivered to your door. It's €15. Okay, and you will find diphthongs in there. So this is a diphthong where the E changes to I. Cierra la puerta. Now then, number 5 is both a diphthong. It's not reflexive in this context, no, because it's he wakes me, not I wake myself. So another diphthong, despertar, to wake. Me despierta, me, he wakes. There's your pronoun as well, me. And they are in level 2 of Break the Language Barrier. Level 2 would be, if you want to brush up on your pronouns, that's where you should be looking for that. As I say, I'm going to put this, not only the links to the books, but also the videos that deal with these things in the description. Me despierta, this is an E changing to IE again, a las 6. So that is he wakes me. And in Spanish you say me, he wakes. Okay, número 6. Another diphthong, empezar. Empieza, E to IE, diphthong. Empieza a estudiar a las 7. So because we've conjugated the first verb, empieza, he begins, we don't conjugate the second verb, we use the infinitive, estudiar. Número 7. Now, número 7 is actually a diphthong also, pensar, to think. But remember, we don't use diphthongs for the we form or the use form. So first and second person plural, there is no diphthong. Did you remember that? So, pensamos que es una tontería. And número 8, another diphthong and a reflexive verb. So this is the verb sentarse, to sit down. Reflexive verbs are in level 2 of the Break the Language Barrier series, and I will put the videos in the description box also. Se sientan para comer. So, flexive pronoun se, diphthong sientan. How did you do in that first section? Oh, I'm in a different pad now. Yeah, this is where I need an assistant, really, to remind me to change over pads or change over pages, etc. Okay, so let's have the English now in section 2. How did you do in section 1? I hope you did okay. So here are our English sentences for you to write down or pause the video, take a photo of, whichever way you like to do it. So number 9, it never snows in Spain. Number 10, I light the candle at 9. Number 11, we understand what they say. Number 12, they lose all the matches. Number 13, I want to go home. Number 14, I always have fun in Spain. Number 15, I prefer France. I certainly don't. I really don't like France. Number 16, I feel tired. Number 17, do you remember that day? And number 18, I tell the child a story. Lots of diphthongs there. So obviously, if you're planning on doing a GCSE, they expect you to know your diphthongs because it's full of diphthongs. Let's see how you did. I'm about to show the Spanish now. So, nevar, to snow, a diphthong. E changing to IE. Nunca nieva en España. Número 2, encender, to light or to turn on. It means both those things. Another diphthong, E changing to IE. Enciendo la vela a las 9. Número 11, another diphthong actually, entender, but because it's the first person plural, we don't use the diphthong, doesn't apply to the first and second person plural. So it's entendemos lo que dice. Número 12, perder, another diphthong, E changing to IE, to lose. Pierden todos los partidos. Número 13, querer, another diphthong. Quiero ir a casa. I want to go home. Número 14. Now, this is difficult because this is, see if you can see it okay, not only a diphthong but reflexive as well, a reflexive diphthong. So, siempre me divierto en España. So, the infinitive is divertirse, but it's a diphthong and it's reflexive. So, siempre me divierto en España. Número 15, number 15, another diphthong. Preferir is the verb, it's a diphthong, E changing to IE. So, prefiere Francia. Número 16, a diphthong and a reflexive verb, sentirse, very similar to sentarse that we had in the previous block. Sentarse to sit, sentirse to feel, both diphthongs, but one's an AR verb, one's an IR verb. Me siento cansado. Y número 17, a diphthong and a reflexive verb, acordarse. This is a diphthong with the O changing to UE. Te acuerdas? Yeah, do you remember? You could also use recordar there. So if you have recuerdas, that's correct also. Te acuerdas de aquel día? Now, you might have ese día, which is also okay for that day. Aquel would say a day further away in the past. So, ese día or aquel día are both okay. Y número 18, another diphthong, contar, to tell a story. Cuento la historia al niño. ¿Vale? So, although decir is to tell also, decir, you could say digo, that's a diphthong too, D-I-G-O, and a go-go verb. But cuento is better when you're talking about recounting or telling a story. How did you do? Okay, next block in English. So, 19. We find things under his bed. 20. They play tennis on Saturdays. 21. I fly to Spain tomorrow. 22. My arm hurts. 23. I know how to do it. So there's quite a few irregular verbs in here, so just to let you know. Number 24, it and diphthongs. It rains in winter. Number 25, we return tomorrow. 26, do you sleep well? Do you sleep until 6? Number 27, I am dying of hunger. Number 28, she says goodbye to her friends. Number 29, you ask for the bill. And number 30, they laugh. Okay, so yeah, take your photo, pause your video, and I'm coming back in a minute with the Spanish. Okay, so number 19, the verb to find is a diphthong, but again, first person plural, we, no diphthong. So, encontramos cosas debajo de su cama. They're obsessed with diphthongs, I think, in here. They obviously want you to know them well. Número 20, jugar, diphthong, O changing to UE. Juegan al tenis los sábados. 21, another diphthong, volver, O changing to UE. Not volver, volar, to fly, O changing to UE. Vuelo a España mañana. Now then, number 22. Did you get this correctly? Do you know that when we talk about something that hurts us in Spanish, if you say my arm hurts, you have to say my arm hurts me, but also you put the me first. So it's not reflexive, it's a pronoun, a personal pronoun. Me duele el brazo, and the verb doler to hurt is also a diphthong changing to UE. Me duele el brazo. So that is literally, to me, it hurts the arm. We don't personalize the parts of the body in Spanish. We don't say my arm, we say the arm. Número 23, sé hacerlo. So, sé is the first person singular of the verb saber. It's irregular in the first person. After that's a regular ER verb, but in the first person it's irregular. And this is knowing how to do things or knowing facts or information. So we would not use conocer here because that is to know people or places. So, sé hacerlo. So, I know is the conjugated verb, then we don't conjugate the second verb, and because we've got an infinitive, we can put our pronoun on the end. We could also say lo sé hacer, but we can't put the lo in the middle, so it's sé hacerlo or lo sé hacer, but to be honest, that sounds a bit funny. I think it sounds much better, sé hacerlo. Don't forget, pronouns are in Break the Language Barrier level 2. Okay, 24, llueve en invierno. So, llover, to rain, another diphthong, O change into UE. Número 25, volvemos mañana, volver, to return is a diphthong, but because it's first person plural, we, the diphthong doesn't apply. Volvemos, not vuelvemos. Número 26, dormir, another diphthong, O change into UE. Duermes hasta las 6. Número 27, to die is morirse, reflexive. And the O changes to UE, so it's me muero de hambre. Número 28, to say goodbye is despedirse, reflexive, and diphthong, E changing to I. So, se despide de sus amigos. So again, if you haven't got a clue what I'm talking about with diphthongs and E changing to I or O changing to UE, you need to check out that section of Break the Language Barrier Level 1 or watch one of the videos that I'll put in the description box. Y 29, another diphthong, one of the E changing to I diphthongs, Piedes la cuenta. And the last one, they laugh. To laugh is reírse, and it's another diphthong, so you would end up with se ríen. Yeah? How are you doing? I think we've got another couple of sections, yeah? Is this the last section or have we got another one? Yeah, this is the last one. You'll be glad to know. How are you doing so far? Oh, I hope you're doing okay. Vale. These are the English then for the last section. I continue to get dressed. Now, number 32 is these are all irregular verbs in the first person, just to let you know. So you've got I do, I fall, I drive, I know, and this is know with conocer, just to tell you that. I give, I offer, I put, I know, I leave, I bring, I see. Okay, these are all verbs that are a little bit irregular in some way or another in the first person. Number 33. I say that I am in the dining room. Number 34, he flees from danger. You may not know that verb to flee. I wouldn't say it's a very common verb that you exactly use every day. It's a funny little verb, but anyway, we'll see what you come up with. Number 35, 35, we go when we hear the noise. Número 36, I am a member and I have a card. Número 37, they come from Barcelona. Número 38, I am eating the food while she is speaking. Okay, so there's your sentences to take your photo or pause your video or whatever you do to write them down or translate them. And let's see what we've got. Now, the first one. I continue. To continue is seguir. It's a diphthong. E changing to I. Again, going back to that diphthong section. And then getting dressed, vestirse, is to get dressed. And this time they've wanted it in the present progressive, like the ing, vistiéndome. Now, when you're using an ing word in Spanish, you can put the pronoun on the end. You could also say, me sigo vistiendo, but it sounds better like this, sigo vistiéndome. 32. So we've got all these verbs in the first person are irregular in some way or another. Hago, yeah, go-go verb. Me caigo, again, a go-go verb, but also reflexive, so that's why the me is in the front of it, from caerse. Hago is from hacer. So to drive is conducir, first person of conducir is conduzco with ZC, irregular in the first person, after that it's a regular ER verb. Se, yeah, that's one way of saying to know. Doy, I was looking at it, what the hell does that say? Sorry. Doy is the first person of dar, it's irregular in the first person. Ofrezco, the first person of ofrecer, again irregular, just in the first person. Pongo, go-go verb from poner. Conozco, that's the other verb, to know. Salgo, go-go verb from salir. Traigo, from traer, a go-go verb. And veil, which is from the verb to see, is only irregular because you don't take off the E and the R to end up with vo. You leave on the E, so you end up with veil. Okay, número 33, digo, I say, from decir, another go-go verb and a diphthong, the E changing to I. Digo que estoy en el comedor. Número 34, hue, really strange verb this, huir is the verb to flee or run away, and it changes to a Y. Hue del peligro. I wouldn't worry about that verb too much. I don't think it's a very common verb, but obviously if you're going to do a GCSE, they obviously expect you to know it for whatever reason. Y número 35, nos vamos, we go, they're using it reflexively there, from irse. Nos vamos cuando oímos el ruido. And número 36, soy socio. Now you might have miembro, that is a member as well. So soy socio or soy miembro y tengo una tarjeta. So soy, of course, is from that old chestnut se that we have to know se. Lots of videos on my channel about se, but the present tense one I will put in the description box as well. And 37, venir is the verb to come. It's a diphthong changing to IE. It's also a go-go verb in the first person, vengo, which is in the go-go verbs section of my, that is in Break the Language Barrier Level 1. You'll find all the go-go verbs, a few of which that have come up here. Salgo, ago, trigo, etc. Tengo, vengo. So that will be in level 1 as well. And the last one, 34, estoy comiendo la comida. I am eating the food mientras ella está hablando, while she is talking. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of the practice of the present tense. The sort of level that they expect you to know to pass your GCSE in Spanish, if you decide that you want to take one, or maybe just for your own information so you know what your level is. Hola, soy yo Vicky otra vez, and welcome to video 10 in this series that I've been doing of test your level of Spanish. To see how it compares with GCSE level. There's only a few more to go now. We're on video 10. We're going to look at the perfect tense. The perfect tense is what you have done. Okay, again, this is in my level 2 book. If you don't know the perfect tense and you're wanting to look at that tense, it's in my level 2 book, Break the Language Barrier level 2. And go into that in quite some detail there. I mean, obviously it comes up as it goes through, you know, because after the subject is presented in my Break the Language Barrier books, after that it does come up still every now and again when we're comparing with other tenses. But the actual presentation of this topic is in the level 2 book, and you can find it there. And I will put that in the description box, and also put links to relevant videos, because there are videos that explain about the perfect tense or the have done tense, and if you want to check those out, they'll be in the description box. So yeah, the perfect tense is what we have done. Have you had your lunch? Have you been to the shops? I have worked very hard this week. Anything you have done in Spanish is the perfect tense. And we make it using the verb to have, but not tener, but haber. And then the past participle of the main verb, what we have done. Now, I'm not going to go into that in great detail here, because this video is just practicing it, presuming that you know it. If you don't know that tense, then, or you want a refresher on that tense, you need to look either at, if you've got the Break the Language Barrier level 2 book, you can look in there, or look on the video that will be in the description box. And if you want to buy the Break the Language Barrier level 2 book, you can order it through me for €15, including postage and packing, or you can order it on any Amazon site. And again, I'll put all the links down in the description box. Okay, now, if you've done any of these videos before, you'll know the format. You'll need a pen and a piece of paper or a pad, because these videos are designed not by me. These are genuine GCSE tests to prepare you for a GCSE. These are the things you need to know. If you're thinking of going to do a GCSE in Spanish, you need to know that these are things that obviously must come up in the exam, that they expect you to know. And it's mainly the irregulars, of course, irregular verbs, etc. Now, you might not be going to do a GCSE, but you might want to see how your level compares to it. You know, quite often people don't realise what level they've got to in Spanish. You know, I think most of my students, certainly once they've gone through 1, 2, 3, and levels 1, 2, and 3, could pass a GCSE easily. It's just a question of how good a mark they could get. But sometimes confident, you know, people aren't confident. So it's nice to do these tests, and it might give you some confidence. And if there are things that you didn't know and that you get wrong, you know where, you know, it gives you an idea of where you need to brush up a little bit. So personally, I think tests are a good thing. Not everybody likes doing tests. I am one of those sad people that really likes doing tests and exams. I've always liked doing them because I think they concentrate your mind. Because as I say, sometimes, not only with Spanish, with anything, you don't realise what you know. You always think there's so many things you don't know, because there are always a lot of things you don't know, but you forget what you have learned and that you probably know a lot. And it's confidence that, so a test can give you confidence. And even if you don't get, as I say, you don't get the things right, it tells you then, you know then what you've got to brush up on. So you shouldn't be dispirited if you do get things wrong. Getting things wrong is the way that you end up getting them right. Now, I just want to say, I know I waffle on a bit sometimes, but I just want to say what a sort of a comparison I always give my students is, you know, whatever job you did or do, when you started in that job, you didn't just, you know, do a week then and you knew everything about the job. You didn't. It takes years, you know, and repetition of doing things before you get good at your job, especially if it's a professional job. You know, if you're a doctor or if you're a nurse or if you're a teacher or whatever you do, you don't just learn how to do it well in 1 week, or, you know, it can take a long time. Maybe you started in a job when you're 18, and by the time, you know, you're 40, then you're really good at it. But, you know, this is what I'm trying to say to people: be kind to yourself. Don't expect to be brilliant at something immediately. Be kind to yourself and keep practicing. That's the key. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to hold up to you the sentences that they want translating in English, so that you can either write them down. I'll read them out as well. You can write them down, pause the video, take a photo of them, and then you need to pause the video then, so before I hold up the Spanish. Okay. So these are the sentences you're expected to know how to translate if you want to do it GCSE in Spanish. So number 1, I have spoken, he has eaten, they have lived. Now those 3 are regular verbs, so I'll tell you that now for nothing. So they're obviously starting you off gently there. Number 2, I have opened the box. Number 3, we have covered the food. Number 4, they have said what they think. Number 5, you have discovered the truth. Number 6, she has written a letter. Number 7, I have done the same. Number 8, he has died. Number 9, I have put it on the table. Number 10, he has broken the chair. Number 11, we have seen the beach. And number 12, I have returned. So there's quite a lot of irregular past participles in there, just to warn you. So now's the time to either pause the video. I will put my face behind there so you can pause the video so that you can translate the sentences from the paused video, or write them down, or whatever you want. And then now's the time I'm going to go on to the Spanish. Okay, so number 1, as I said, to give you a clue, these are regular verbs, the first 3. He hablado, I have spoken. Ha comido, he has eaten. Han vivido, they have lived. So those are regular AR, ER and IR verbs that all end. The AR verbs end in ado, the ER and IR verbs end in ido when we put them into the past participle. Then I think nearly all the others, in fact, yeah, all the others are irregular past participles. So they're obviously expecting you to know your irregular participles. So number 2, he abierto, oh, that's a bit of Spanglish for you. He abierto la caja. It's a good sign when you start doing Spanglish because it means that your brain's not differentiating between the languages. So, he abierto, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. He abierto la caja. I have opened the box. Hemos cubierto la comida. So, abierto is the irregular past participle of abrir. Cubierto is the irregular past participle of cubrir. And then, han dicho lo que piensan. So, dicho is the irregular past participle of decir. And piensan, they think, that's a diphthong verb. Y número 5, has descubierto la verdad. So, descubierto sort of, notice it's got the same, because cubrir and descubrir, so they take the same form in the past participle. Has descubierto la verdad. Número 6, ha escrito una carta. So, escrito, the irregular past participle of escribir. He hecho lo mismo. Hecho, the irregular past participle of hacer. Ha muerto, muerto, the irregular past participle of morir. Número 9, lo he puesto en la mesa. I have put it on the table. So, the it, remember the pronouns, pesky pronouns. I will put a link in to the video that explains pronouns, which also are in level 2 of Break the Language Barrier. The presentation of pronouns. So I'll put all that in the description box. Remember that we put our pronouns before the verb in Spanish. So instead of I have put it, it's it I have put. So, lo he puesto en la mesa. Puesto being the irregular past participle of poner. Ha roto la silla. So, roto being the irregular past participle of romper. Hemos visto la playa. Visto being the irregular past participle of ver. And he vuelto, vuelto being the irregular past participle of volver. How did you do? Yeah, ¿cómo has hecho? ¿Cómo has hecho bien? Have you done well in those? Did you get them all right? Or did you forget some of the irregular past participles? Obviously, that's, as I say, that's the whole reason for this particular test, is to make sure that you know your irregular past participles, because they obviously come up in the GCSE exam. But just generally, I mean, it's ironic really, because the irregulars are normally the most common verbs, like abrir, to open, hacer, to do, volver, to return. These have all got irregular past participles, and they're not obscure verbs that you never use. They're commonly used verbs. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Todo bien? Espero que sí. Vale, ok. So en el video de hoy vamos a hacer número 12 en el serie de videos para comprobar tu nivel de español. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to do video 12 in testing your level of Spanish in comparison with GCSE. Y hoy vamos a mirar el imperfecto y pluperfecto, the imperfect and the pluperfect. So the imperfect is things we used to do or we were doing, and the pluperfect or the pluscuamperfecto in Espanol are things we had done. So, as usual in this video, this is not a video to learn those tenses. This is a video presuming that you already know those tenses, and it's to test your knowledge of them. So, if you don't know those tenses, in the description box I will put in the link to the relevant videos on my YouTube channel that deal with those particular subjects, so you can brush up on there. Also, if you have the Break the Language Barrier Level 2 book, that is where you will find these tenses explained, which I've got one, but it's propping up my computer at the moment. So it's Break the Language Barrier Level 2, where you will find the details of how to make these tenses. And I will put the page numbers in the description box as well. If the new Level 2, the updated Level 2 book. Okay, so that's where you can find how to make them on the videos or in the book. As I say, I'm presuming that for the purpose of this video, you need to already know them. This is just to practice them, not to learn them. Okay, so if you've done these videos before, you will know that you need a pen and a piece of paper because you need to do these translations. I will hold up the English, and then you can either freeze the video or write them down, or freeze the video and look at them on the video on the screen, and then translate them. Then I will read you out the answers and we'll see how you did. As we go through, we'll explain a little bit about the tenses. So we're looking at the imperfect first, el imperfecto. So, as I said, the imperfect is the tense that we use to talk about things we used to do in Spanish, or we were doing. These are past, finished actions, but they're repeated actions in the past, whereas the preterite in the previous video are singular actions in the past at a specific point in time. The imperfect are serial or repeated actions, if you like, in the past, or with no specific beginning or end. Okay, so these are our 7 questions using the imperfect, or 7 sentences to translate. Now, the good thing about this tense is the easiest past tense to remember, because there are only 3 irregular verbs, which are ser, ir, and ver. Apart from those 3 verbs, every other verb follows the pattern, the regular pattern. So there's a little clue. Okay, numero uno, I was looking through the window. Numero dos, she was eating paella. Numero tres, we were living in Valencia. Numero cuatro, I was going to visit Spain. Numero cinco, he was my friend. Numero seis, they could see the sea from the balcony. And numero siete, I used to work in Spain. Okay, those are your English sentences. I'll hold that up if you want to freeze the video now. And then in a moment, I will be reading the Spanish. Okay. So, numero uno. See how much shorter they are in Spanish. I mean, it took me nearly the whole page to write the English ones out. But in Spanish, sentences are so much shorter. So, numero uno. Miraba por la ventana. Now, we might want to put in the yo there, because the first and third person singular in this tense are exactly the same. So probably better to put in the yo there, because miraba could be I was looking, or he or she was looking. So yo miraba por la ventana. Same with numero dos, comía paella. So I've forgotten what it is now. So she was. So we might want to put in the ella I mean, sometimes when you're speaking, it's evident who you're talking about, so you still don't need to put it in. But if in just a one-off sentence like this, obviously we wouldn't know. Ella comía paella. So remember that the AR verbs have the aber endings, and the ER and IR verbs have these ER endings. Número tres, we used to live, or we lived in Valencia. When we don't know exactly when somebody lived there, vivíamos en Valencia. Número cuatro, iba a visitar España. So who's this? I was going to visit Spain. So yo iba a visitar España. Probably better to put in the yo. Número 5, era mi amigo. He was my friend. So él era mi amigo. Número 6, podían ver el mar del balcón. They could see the sea from the balcony. So podían. We don't need to put AOs in there because it can only be they. And the last one, trabajaba. I used to work in Spain, so yeah, we might want to put in the yo. Yo trabajaba en España. So I call this the Alibaba tense because the AR verbs always end in the abas, but of course you have to remember that the ER and IR are EAs. Okay, so now we're going to look at the pluperfect. So, pluperfect or pluscuamperfecto is had done. Whatever we had done is the past of the past. And again, as I say, what was I saying? Oh yeah, this is not to teach you how to make that tense. It is, but I will put the videos that refer to this tense in the description box, and it is in level 2, break the language barrier level 2, which you can buy on any Amazon site or through me. Okay, so number 1, someone had stolen my bicycle. Number 2, I had visited her already. Number 3, she had never eaten paella. Numero 4, they had never seen Valencia. Numero 5, what had you done? Numero 6, we had broken it. Y número 7, he had put it on the table. So a few pronouns in there as well. Okay, so there's your English. I don't have to repeat that for you. I'll just hold it up and you might want to freeze it so that you can translate them in your own time. And I'll be back in a moment with the Spanish. Okay. So to make this tense, we take the auxiliary verb haber. So we don't use tener for had or have, do we? We use haber, which is explained on the video or in the book. And we use it in the imperfect tense. So here we go. Número 1. Alguien había robado mi bicicleta. So when we're using someone, that would be a he or a she, so we use the ending for he or she. Alguien había robado mi bicicleta, third person singular. Número 2, ya le había visitado. I had already visited him or her. So we're using le because it's a person. You could use lo or la as well because it's a direct object pronoun, but I would always advise using le when you're referring to him or her. It's just easier that way. Y número 3, nunca había comido paella. Yeah, she had, so you might want to put the ella in. Ella nunca había comido paella. They had never seen Valencia. Is it seen or visited? Quite often I do make little mistakes, as you may have noticed. No, seen. It is seen. I should have more faith in myself. But we all make mistakes, don't we? So, nunca habían visto Valencia. Now, I noticed here we've got regular participles with robado, visitado, comido, and then we're coming into the irregular participles. I obviously want you to know the irregular participles. Same with number 5. What had you done? ¿Qué habías hecho? Hecho is such an important participle. It comes up so often from the verb hacer, to do or make. Número 6. Lo habíamos roto. It we had broken. So pronoun there, and remember the pronoun goes in front of a conjugated verb, and roto is the past participle of romper. It is irregular. Y número 7, lo había puesto en la mesa. So again, puesto is the irregular past participle for poner. So not ponido, puesto. Lo había puesto en la mesa. Ya, vale, está. Okay, so that's it for this video. Eso es todo para este video. Thank you for being here with me to learn English or Spanish. I appreciate it. So, gracias por estar aquí conmigo para aprender inglés o español. Te lo agradezco mucho. Why not stay a little while with me and keep me company? Watch a few more videos to learn Spanish or English. If you feel like it, of course. Quédate conmigo un rato para aprender inglés o español, para darme compañía, si te apetece, claro. And finally, as always, finalmente, como siempre, que tu Dios vaya contigo. May your God go with you. And I will see you real soon in the next video. Y te veo muy pronto en el próximo video. Gracias. Thank you. Adiós.